Right now, without moving your head, pay attention to the space behind you. That prickle you feel, the sense that someone could be there, is one of the oldest things about you. It is older than language, older than fire, and it is not paranoia. It kept your ancestors alive for 1 million years, and it is still running right now, whether anyone is there or not. You know the feeling. You're alone in a room, focused on something, and without warning, the skin on the back of your neck tightens. You are suddenly completely certain that someone is behind you. You turn, and there's no one. Just an empty room and your own heart beats slightly too fast. It's easy to call that nothing. A glitch, a jumpy imagination, but it isn't nothing. What you just felt is one of the most refined pieces of machinery evolution ever built into a human being. And to understand it, you have to go back to a world where being watched was the last thing you ever felt. For almost the entire history of our species, you were not the top of the food chain. You were meat. Big cats hunted our ancestors across the African plains. Leopards dragged them into trees. In the dark, something was always looking at us with intent. And the ones who sensed it a half second early were the ones who lived long enough to have children. The ones who didn't sense it simply vanished from the story. So think about what that means. Every human being alive today is descended from the paranoid ones. The relaxed ones, the ones who didn't feel the eyes in the dark, were removed from the gene pool a long time ago. You come from an unbroken line of ancestors who were very, very good at feeling watched. But here's where it gets stranger. Your brain didn't just get generally nervous. It built a dedicated system for this one job. Deep in your brain, there are cells whose entire purpose is to work out whether something is looking at you, not looking near you, at you. Researchers have found neurons that fire hardest when a pair of eyes is aimed directly at your face and go quiet when that same gaze shifts just a few degrees away. Your brain treats a direct stare as its own category of event, as important as a loud noise or a sudden movement, and it runs faster than thought. You can detect that someone is looking at you in under a tenth of a second, quicker than you can consciously recognize whose face it even is. The feeling arrives before the understanding. That's why being watched feels like a sensation, not a decision. Your body knows before you do. There's a reason it's tuned this tight. For a social animal surrounded by predators and rivals, a direct gaze is one of the most loaded signals in existence. It can mean a threat has locked onto you. It can mean someone in your group is challenging you. It can mean attraction or warning, or the half second before an attack. Missing it could cost you everything. So evolution did the sensible thing. It made your brain slightly too eager to see eyes, rather than not eager enough. And that eagerness is the key to the whole mystery, because a system this important cannot afford to be cautious. Imagine two early humans. One only feels watched when there genuinely is a predator in the grass. The other feels watched at the slightest hint, a rustle, a shadow, a patch of darkness that might be eyes. The second one jumps at nothing 100 times, but the first one misses the real thing just once, and that once is fatal. Evolution does not care how many times you turn around to find an empty room, it only cares about the one time the room isn't empty. So your alarm was built to go off at the faintest suggestion, because 1,000 false alarms cost you nothing, and a single missed threat costs you everything. You are the descendant of the one who always turned around. That is why you feel watched when no one is there. It's not a flaw in the system. It is the system working exactly as designed, firing on incomplete information, choosing to be wrong in the safe direction. The prickle on your neck is a smoke alarm that would rather scream at burnt toast than stay silent during a fire. But there's another piece, and it lives in the corner of your eye. Your peripheral vision is strange. Around the edges, you can barely make out detail or color, but it is extremely sensitive to two things: movement and the presence of faces. You can't consciously see much out there. Your brain can. It quietly processes the edges of your vision without telling you. And when it catches something that might be a face turned your way, it doesn't hand you a clear image. It hands you a feeling. A vague, urgent sense of presence, with no picture attached. That's why the sensation is so hard to shake and so hard to explain. The information is real. Your brain genuinely detected something at the edge, but the detail never reaches your conscious mind. You're left holding the alarm without the photograph, certain you're being watched, unable to say why. Now layer modern life on top of a brain built for the plains. You sit in rooms with mirrors, with windows that turn black at night and throw your own reflection back at you. You have screens with cameras. You catch the eyes of faces on posters and paintings, and some part of you registers them as real gaze, photographs whose eyes seem to follow you across a room. Your ancient watching detector never evolved for any of this. It just does its job, flagging every possible pair of eyes, in a world absolutely saturated with them. And there's one more twist, quieter than the rest. Sometimes the feeling of being watched changes how you behave even when you're truly alone. People are more honest, more careful, more restrained when they merely sense they might be observed. In 2006, researchers at Newcastle University, Melissa Bateson, Daniel Nettle, and Gilbert Roberts, ran a quiet experiment on their own coffee station where people paid for drinks on an honesty system. In the weeks when they taped a small picture of human eyes above the tin, people paid nearly 3 times as much as in the weeks when they taped up a picture of flowers. Nobody was actually watching. A pair of printed eyes was enough. Some researchers think this is part of what let large human groups hold together at all. The permanent, low background hum of feeling watched, which quietly keeps each of us in line. The eyes don't even have to be real. Your brain supplies them. So sit with what this actually is. That instinct you have spent your whole life brushing off as nerves is one of the oldest and most sophisticated things you own. It is a survival system older than your language, older than your name, older than the country you live in. It has been running in an unbroken line since long before there were humans to run it, passed down through every ancestor who ever turned around in the dark and lived. So the next time you're alone and the back of your neck tightens and you turn to face a room with no one in it, don't be so quick to call it nothing. Something in you turned around before you did. And for almost every moment of the last million years, that something was right often enough to matter. The room is empty now. That's the gift of the world you were lucky enough to be born into. But the watcher inside you doesn't know that yet. It's still standing guard at the edge of your vision, still scanning the dark, still ready for a danger that this time isn't coming. It kept your family alive long enough to make you. The least you can do is understand it.